right now, there is a link in my bio, ocasio-cortez.com/save Medicaid. Whether you're a New Yorker like me, whether you're a Michigander, whether you're from Pennsylvania, Colorado, huge amounts of your state budget comes from Medicaid. The way Medicaid gets dispersed is actually by the states. And so Medicaid is paid for by a combination of state and federal match money. In wealthier states, the federal match is lower. So, for example, in New York, the match is 1-to-1. For every $1 that New York spends, the federal government spends $1. Other states, like Kentucky, they actually get a higher federal match. Around 70% of their Medicaid disbursements are paid by the federal government.
Things have hit a new low for Donald Trump, and I'm not just talking about the losses in court, his historically low approval rating, or the shocking and disgusting scandals of corruption and criminality. No, I am talking about those who are very publicly turning on Donald Trump, and they're members of his own party, and they're doing it on the places Donald Trump cares about the most, and that is exactly what we saw out of Senator Rand Paul, of all people, who's really been speaking out against Donald Trump, not just for the stupidity of his tariffs, but calling out his criminality on Fox, to the shock of Jesse Waters, who looked like he actually had his mind changed. We're going to get into it all. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way and really does mean a lot to me now. Before we get into Rand Paul's takedown of Donald Trump for a whole host of things, I want to get some context on where it all started from. Senator Brian Schatz, right here.
When people see Air Force One on TV, when they see it land in other countries, whether in London or Tokyo or Brazil, they immediately know that America has arrived. What people will now see is the most powerful man on earth flying around in a plane paid for by a foreign government. It's disgusting. It's wildly corrupt. And just because they are doing the corruption in plain sight does not make it any less damning or sad or gross. I cannot believe I have to say this, but a president should not take a $400 million gift from a foreign country. It doesn't matter which president, what party, it doesn't matter which foreign country, it doesn't matter if there is or is not a legal justification. No president should take a $400 million gift from a foreign country. If foreign government offers you anything, but especially something close to $500 million worth, the answer is no thank you. End of story. Very simple. End of story. I cannot take that. First of all, I cannot take that because I can't have divided loyalties. I'm going into the region. I can't take a $400 million gift before I begin negotiations with you. But it's also explicitly prohibited by the United States Constitution. And the gift in question is that the country of Qatar is going to literally provide a luxury aircraft, not just any luxury aircraft to the President of the United States, but Air Force One. And why does this matter? Air Force One is not just a random luxury airplane. It is a symbol of and a projection of American power. It has flown 15 different presidents. It carried President John F. Kennedy's body after his assassination and saw President Johnson be sworn in under unprecedented circumstances. It rushed George W. Bush back to Washington after the Twin Towers were struck. And just 2 years ago, it flew President Joe Biden to Europe for a secret trip to Ukraine during the war. This week, several of my colleagues and I will be asking the Senate to vote to condemn this action. There should be 100 of us that agree on this fundamental principle. No president should take free stuff from a foreign government, and certainly nothing worth $400 million.
This is the biggest corruption scandal probably in presidential history. And I want to make some very clear points in the distorted way that the media is covering this, saying that it is a gift given to the State Department that we're saving money with. This plan is a flat-out lie. This is a gift that will eventually go to Donald Trump and his presidential library after he hopefully leaves the presidency. But it is a big Boeing plane. It's this huge palace in the sky, but that doesn't mean it's ready to be Air Force One on day one. It has to be refitted with the proper technology. So it's actually coming at the cost of us, the taxpayer, to then give as a gift to Donald Trump. So I don't want to hear that. And obviously, we know this is illegal. This is corrupt. This is insane. And that is exactly what Rand Paul was calling out on Fox of all places. And you can watch Jesse Waters go silent as he not only calls out the stupidity of Donald Trump's tariffs, but the corruption of this action right here.
Senator, you were panicking. You were against the tariffs. You were anti-tariff. Now what do you have to say?
Jesse, I'm a free market guy. I think international trade creates great wealth, and there's all the facts and history of the last 100 years to prove it. But I'm also a friend of Donald Trump's. I'm a supporter of Donald Trump's. When he has successes with trade, I've said I will compliment him. If he succeeds in lowering tariffs and lessening the obstacles to trade, I'll be right there. I think it's unknown with China. We started out at 145%, then we went to 80%, now we're at 30%. But that's 30% more than we have on currently. So this will be a 30% rise in any goods who are coming from China, and somebody will pay that. It will be the consumer. If the consumer's happy to pay more when they go to Walmart or more when they go to Target in order to get fairness or to teach China a lesson, then so be it. But the proof is in the pudding. We'll see what happens over the next 6 months to a year.
So you think our defense industry should rely on the Chinese? You think we should rely on Chinese steel? You trust China?
No, I think there are exceptions to trade and exceptions to free international trade. One of them would be defense industries. We obviously aren't going to buy our, intercontinental ballistic missiles from them. We're not going to have enriched uranium coming from China. So our defense industry is completely independent and needs to be. And there are even some things that aren't necessary for defense that I would say we ought to make here. The flag, for goodness sake.
Or pharmaceuticals. So you don't want pharmaceuticals coming from China.
No, well, actually, I don't. But here's the thing: there's a real question. This is a serious question you ask conservatives. How do you want to bring a pharmaceutical industry to our country? Do you want to do it by reducing taxes or raising taxes? The president thinks if you raise taxes on imports, which Americans will pay, that it will encourage local industry. Another way of doing it is China makes like 4 different antibiotics. They're generic. There's not much profit in them. What we should do is lower the taxes to 0 for 10 years for anybody who will compete with them in our country. So it's just a matter of perspective. I would rather lower taxes. Raising taxes or tariffs.
So should we be putting out our gimmies, Senator?
Well, it's a little bit different than a gimme putt. And the Constitution in Article 2 talks about the president can't take emoluments or gifts from foreign leaders. And so there is a provision in the Constitution that says you can't do this. And so the question is, can you do it if it's only for official purposes? If it came to someone in Congress, they can vote and the Ethics Committee can look at it. With his, there will have to be some kind of adjudication. This has never been done, and it's not like a ride on the plane. We're talking about the entire $400 million plane. I think it's not worth the appearance of impropriety. Whether it's improper or not, I don't think it's worth it. The other problem with Qatar is, I've spent time trying not to sell weapons to Qatar because they have human rights violations of their people. Many of their people are prevented from participating in the government, and some of the minority religious folks in Qatar are treated poorly. And so I really haven't been a big fan, and I wonder if our ability to judge their human rights record would be clouded by the fact of this large gift. So I wouldn't take it. That's just me. I don't think it's a good idea.
If Qatar does give it to him, and he says, hey, Rand, you want to hop on a jet down to Palm Beach? You'll say no?
Yeah. I've always wanted to ride on the Emiratis jet, where you have a shower and a bathtub and all that stuff.
Me too.
And a bar and a dance floor. But I've never been able to fork over the 20 grand, I think, each way. So I probably won't be riding on it. But no, I think it's a mistake. and it's just bringing up something he doesn't need. Look, the biggest success he has had so far is controlling the border. In a matter of weeks, he controlled the border. They should talk about the border every day, all day, and nothing but the border, and say, look what I've done. No new money, no new bill, and I controlled the border by sheer willpower. And I think he does deserve a lot of credit for that.
Yeah,
Our voices matter. We do have agency. We can fight back. And I am so glad that AOC is empowering us to do just that. We're certainly going to try our best to follow her lead on this show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. And if you stuck around to the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.